went there at the transfer station and met a lot of Swanzey residents. Some were unaware of actually what was going on, so they enlightened them and provided some correct information to our frustration. There's been a lot of disinformation, if you will, out there against the project for whatever reason, but our members were out there trying to get the correct information out there, just educating everyone, and it was surprising a lot of people weren't aware of what's going on. They thought the firehouse was already under construction, or unaware of the project at all. So Tim could probably elaborate on that too. He spoke to a lot of people who's been in town forever, right?
For a long time. He's born here. Yep.
Yep. So Timmy could talk on that a little bit.
Yeah. So you know, I guess one of the things I'd like voters to vote on is from the perspective that that they should be voting on this from a perspective of what kind of services, what kind of efficiency do they want us to perform at for their neighbors, their friends, and their family, people who live here in town, obviously. With the secondary thought that those are going to be the services that are going to be provided to them should they ever need 911. Because we don't ever think that we're going to have an emergency. So rather than look at it as to what my needs are going to be, I'd like voters to kind of look at this from the perspective of what the services do they want their family and people that they love to receive from us.
So March 9th from, I believe the polls will be at 8
to 7.
8 to 7, and we need everybody to come out and support Articles 3 and 4. 3 is the fire station, 4 is the new fire truck. We really need to get the word out. A lot of people may not even be aware of what's going on. So March 9th at the high school from 8 to 7 are the polls. We really want you to come out and support.
Basket in Swanzey. We're mostly here because it's an in-town business. It's the biggest attraction in town, and it's just more people spread out from the town, not living in town, but give more awareness to outside so they can spread the word of what we're doing. And you know, just here because I want to see this station go through. I want to see it be built. I want to see it become a more modern theme for us and get us on a right track and get the station in a better place. Our members, me, firefighter Corbin, he's a probationary firefighter, and firefighter David Mark. He's an engine driver, firefighter, and EMT. I'm a firefighter and EMT in the town. I've been on this department since I was 15 and a half, 16. I've done projects with them. And we're just here to spread awareness and ask people to vote and show support towards the station because it really is needed. And it's time to give us a more modern theme to our station and give us a better place to put our trucks. The same price this year as it was last year, and for the lower number we were arguing $6 of a difference between the higher and the lower. And as the fire department stood, we went for the higher number because we wanted to see it finished. Without it being finished, they would knock our training rooms, our meeting room, our just basic areas for us to do things. We have rooms dedicated for us to do EMS, so when I come back from a call I can sit in a quiet room while the trucks are being put away and cleaned and washed, and it's better for it to just finish the project now while we have it in the same price range.
My name is firefighter Corbin, and I'm here at Market Basket trying to gain awareness for the new fire station. Personally, for being one of the newest firemen in the fire department. I've been on since September of last year, and part of the reason why I think it's so important is because this fire station, it emphasizes on our personal health, which is a big important factor of being a firefighter. The reason why I got into it is I've always wanted to be a fireman, and Swanzey was one of the best. I've been a resident there forever, and they helped me get in really easily, and it's been really supportive for everything. I lived on Spring Street in Swanzey, which is a road that butts the West Swanzey Fire Station, so I've always been in and out of the firehouse, and I've always been interested in the trucks, and I came down and at the time the chief there asked me if I'd be interested, and I always wanted to be a part of it, and I'm glad and happy that I can be a part of it now.
What are you asking about?
Well, we're looking for people's vote. Vote for you to come out and support the new fire station on March 9th. Yeah, so my name's David. I'm on Swanzey Fire Department. I've lived in Swanzey for the past 10 years. I'm glad to be a part of Swanzey Fire Department and serve the community. We're looking for people to come out and support the Swanzey Fire Department in the complete station, finished. We feel that this will be a good investment for the townspeople, both for right now and for the future. And we're asking that they vote for the finished station as proposed for a couple of different reasons. It has new designated sanitation and clean areas. This will allow for decontamination of the crew and their gear after a call, both medical EMS calls and fire calls. With the building construction in today's day and age, there's a lot more harmful gases, carcinogens that are released when these materials are burned. How you doing, guys? Through as a finished station, we'll have the necessary equipment to be able to utilize it right away. Right now, the way the stations are set up, it's not cohesive. It doesn't flow well with the day crew that we have paid on staff. Having them in a more centralized location for the town will be highly beneficial to the townspeople. It will provide a better overall response time average throughout the town. In addition to the fact, it will give us a new training facility to be able to train as a whole department and be able to get all of our members together. And that's it. And extremely important, especially on the fire scene, to have that cohesiveness as a team. Here today, Saturday, at Market Basket, passing out flyers to people looking for support. Looking for your support. March 9th, come out and support yes on Articles 3 and 4. So, thank you very much.
I'm Chief of the Swanzey Fire Department, and today we're going to be talking about their new fire station proposed project. Town meeting vote is coming up on March 9th, and we're hoping to get this project through this year. The fire station is seriously needed here in town. We need to replace our center station, which doesn't meet life safety compliance. It has some serious issues involving firefighter safety and actually civilian safety. Being underneath the town hall, we have issues where fire trucks start up and we actually have exhaust and carbon monoxide permeates up to the civilian area or the offices in town hall. We've had complaints. We do have water leaks in the building. There's only one way in, one way out. So we really need to replace that station. Our other stations are very small, they're cramped too. Modern fire equipment is getting larger, it's very tough to get inside these buildings. Our operations are changing. Modern fire department, we need to do testing and annual testing of equipment and tools, SCBA, ladders, hose, so forth. So we really need to get this new facility, which I describe it as a facility because it's not just a fire station where to park trucks. It's going to involve training and maintenance and community involvement as well. It's going to have a large area, a large space for community meetings as well as using double for space for our training. It's one space where we can get all of our members of the fire department into at one time. So we really need a training area that will suffice to our needs.
I'm Megan Foley. I'm a firefighter and EMT with the town of Swanzey, and I want to encourage you all residents who can vote on March 9th at the high school to do so. We really need your support. The future of our fire department in town depend on your support, and we not only need to get up to where we need to be as a fire department, but we need the ability to move forward as a fire department and to be the best that we can to protect you and your neighbors and this entire town. So again, please vote on March 9th at the high school.
So we've been asked to talk about some of the cancer with the state's presumptive bill. And because we have a very small areas in these stations, we need some of the climate events, we need some sort of evacuation to this. With the new station, this will be installed in the building. To remove all these issues, we'll also have proper gear storage for everyone, proper cleaning areas, proper drying areas, so that we can have longer life out of this gear, better service to it, and to keep everyone safe.
Another topic too that we've discussed, or that is within the preparation or the plans for the new facility, is that our administrative offices are on the second floor here in West Swanzey on Main Street, and it's difficult access. There's a narrow stairwell or a staircase that goes up, so if we need to meet with public, so Deputy Chief Mattson deals with fire prevention, has to deal with people for plans and permits, so forth. He needs to meet with public a lot, and if we have to bring them upstairs, it's difficult access. So if you want to talk a little bit about the new station.
Yeah, no, with the new station, we were properly planned out conference room. It's all on the first floor. It's all handicap accessible. It's be much easier for anybody to access us.
A couple of us on the department have, based on information from the town, figured out the tax impact for both the fire station article, which is Article 3, and our replacement for Engine 2, which is Article 4. So with Article 3, the estimated impact to the tax rate is 34 cents per $1,000 valuation, and that is broken down from the total cost of the project, which is $3.95 million, and of that is the $3.38 million bond, which would be paid back over 20 years. Again, these are numbers from the town, so that's everything we're pulling from is from the town. It's not anything we've figured out ourselves, so to speak. The engine actually is not as daunting as it looks like. It is up to $600,000 we're asking for voters to approve to purchase a new Engine 2. It was going to be replaced anyways in 2025. It just decided it was going to be done earlier than 2025. So, and I think also too, Chief has mentioned that the truck would not only be an engine, but it also have our rescue equipment on it, and ultimately be the replacement for the rescue truck whenever that time comes that the rescue truck has decided it's at the end of its life. So it actually is a savings in the long run if you think of it that way. But the property tax rate on that it's a 10-year bond to pay back that truck, and it's 10 cents per $1,000 valuation. So a couple of us took both the values for both Articles 3 and 4, and we combined them, and we estimate that if you were to be so gracious and support both Articles 3 and 4 for our station and a new Engine 2, if you had a property valued at $100,000, that would be $44 tax increase for the first year. $200,000 property value, which seems to be in kind of the average many towns use, is an $88 tax increase for the first year, roughly. Property valued at $300,000 for, again, both articles would raise tax on that property to $132 for the first year. And then for property at $550,000, the tax increase would be $220 for the first year. So this is, take it as you will, but this is kind of what you'd be getting to support both these articles, and we feel to make an investment in the town and the department. The reason that we just presented the tax increases for the first year is we can assume that will be the value for the coming years, but taxes, how the state does it changes every year, and it's based on inflation and it's based on a whole other factors. So we as residents and firefighters and members of this town don't expect a huge fluctuation from those numbers over the life of the bond, but it's more of a way we just kind of cautiously approach it. We want to be careful with what we present and make sure the information we have out there is right. And yeah, probably for the second year it will be the same amount, but as I said, the state has its own way of figuring out property taxes, and we're pretty confident it would be similar, but that's why we only present the first year.
Deputy Chief West, EMS Coordinator for Swanzey Fire Department. Encouraging the community to get out March 9th at the high school to vote and support Articles 3 and 4. Please get out and vote.
Fisher. I've been lived all my life in Swansea. I've been on the Swansea Fire Department for over 20 years. I want very much to take care of my neighbors, my friends, my relatives. I really need your support on March 9th so that I can do my job well and take care of the town. Please vote Articles 3 and 4, March 9th at the high school. I appreciate it. Thank you.
As the plans are laid out, the building is broken down into actually 4 sections, but it's a hot zone, warm zone, and cold zone. The cold zone is broken up into actually 2 zones. But the hot zone is where we return from a call, potentially contaminated. The turnout gear can get removed, and then actually put in the washers and then go through the process. There's a locker area where people can go into the showers and get clean. And then actually where the warm zone is where the fire apparatus is stored in the apparatus floor. Cold zone is, one part is actually where the administrative offices are, and that's where the public can come in, and we have administrative offices. And then we also have another part of the cold zone, which is the training area, where we have EMS and records and reports, writing area, the kitchen, little kitchen areas in there as well. So the public actually comes into that area, and if allowed to, they come into the administrative offices.
I'd love to interject, but I don't want to sound ridiculous, and it's easy for me to do that. So, you know, there's just a couple things that, I mean, like, I had a conversation with a taxpayer recently who was talking about moving the department forward. He's like, so how are we going to move this department forward? And I was like, well, right now, we're trying not to lose what we currently have.
And that's hard not to be worried about that because of what we have for facilities right now and what we have for stations. Honestly, if people want to drive by our stations when we're there or on calls, you can see how kind of ridiculous some things are in terms of how we try to fit trucks in there, how much time we spend trying to fit trucks in there, how crowded it is. Particularly, I'm out of West Station right now. We have the largest membership right now, and we're kind of on top of each other. When we come in for calls, particularly if it's a structure fire or one of the bigger calls we get, you're going to have people showing up from some people you haven't even seen on a couple calls or a couple months will come in for what we call the big calls, and you can easily be trying to get your gear on and trying not to fall into the person next to you, or trying to not like hit somebody. It's so you have this. You're thinking, okay, I'm be going on this call. What do I need to do and stuff? And then you have the added thought of I don't want to hit the person next to me trying to get my gear on, and it adds a lot of in my mind, unnecessary things you have to think about because of what we don't have for space and what we don't have for a facility. Our equipment right now, everything is in a bay downstairs. We have no designated areas for storage. Our medical supplies is in cabinets that are all over the station. And part of learning the station is learning where the cabinets are and where the equipment is. Our workspace, we have a small work area at West Station, is in like a little cubby area in the back. And I think the new station plan has a specific area for that. So I think it's important for people to know that the new station plan, every corner of that station is used. There is no space that's empty or unused in that space. Everything that we need, we should have had years ago that we don't have, is in that space. You're talking about storage, you're talking about decon. Gosh, it would be wonderful to be able to train as a whole department and not have to use someone else's building and be worried about damaging that building, or being worried, like Wickham Hall, if we're going to mess up the floors, because they're really nice floors. I mean, there isn't a wasted space in that building, and I think it's important for people to understand. It's important for people to understand that, yes, there are double bays in that building for 6 trucks if you look at it. Well, that's because if the 2 outstations, east and west, we're crowded. We need a truck out of our station. We need some space. And I know for West Station, there's been talk of moving the ladder if we get the new station. And that would be huge for us. That would give us some space to spread out. And so that's why it may seem like there are extra bays in that station, but they're not. They're just, it's an indication of the fleet that Center has, and then what we've managed to stuff into the outbuildings to have a functioning fire department.
Well, with what Tim said about losing the other 2 stations, we still need those 2 stations geographically. I mean, I can't go from east to answer a call way over at the other end of town and then come halfway back. Because of the covered bridges and the size of the town, we still need them. One of the problems that I see, and the advantage to having the 6-bay apparatus floor, with this new station, we come back with a truck, we get it inside, we wash it, we take care of it. Right now, in East, if you want to wash a truck, you've got to move a couple of them out, move this one over to this bay, because only 1 bay works to wash. I think you have the same problem at West.
Yes.
And at Center, they bring it in and wash it, but the water problem in there is so bad, it's destroying the trucks. So we take care of a lot. It gives us the ability to take care of our apparatus. We're really struggling to do that now. We have to wait for 1 bay to get the salt off our trucks.
And I mean, now with Engine 2 being out of service and the rust problems it has, I know at West Station and probably East, there's a heightened awareness to keep the trucks clean. And we're trying our best. I mean, we've brought the engine back from calls during snowstorms this winter, and we get it into the bay and we try to clean it, especially the undercarriage. And it's cold, it's not comfortable. I mean, it's not great on a 90-degree day either, but we don't have the space, we don't have the water lines, the water that we're getting is okay, but sometimes it's not the best. So it's a challenge, definitely, and as I said, all of us have a heightened awareness now about our trucks. Particularly with the 1 engine out for what it's out for. Yeah. And we're all worried. I think the biggest thing with that engine being out now is we're worried about, we have an older fleet, and we're worried about what the next truck is that's going to be to go. And if it goes now, we have a huge problem. And part of that is we do our best, but we just don't have the space or the equipment to keep everything pristine.
We're trying to maximize the life of these fire trucks. And we keep referring to them as our fire trucks, but they really are the town's fire trucks. And the way we maximize the life of these fire trucks is by good basic maintenance, which does mean washing them at the end of each call. And to have the space to do that is vital to allowing us to keep this basic maintenance up. One of the things I want to touch on with your point is that all our EMS supplies, the supplies that we use to restock the truck at the end of a call is stacked on top of the places where we store our gear. So you get that dirty gear in there that's off-gassing these byproducts of combustion, and the only storage space we have for our EMS equipment is on top of those gear.
We do everything we can by keeping things in plastic bags to try to keep stuff sealed and clean, and the more important items are placed in an area that we feel is safer within the fire station. But again, it's not adequate. It's not a proper ventilated space for medical grade type equipment. Plus, I wanted to add back when you guys are talking about decon, and people don't discuss, when we come back to these stations, not only we got to clean the truck, we got to clean our gear. And that's a big thing with the gear. When guys come back and they got everything they were in working in a building on their gear, they come back and have to use a garden hose to gross decontaminate the gear, and then we just have 2 little washers that we try to wash, and then we hang dry our gear. That gear is usually out of service for up to 24 hours. Some guys, if it's late, we get back 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, they'll go home and the gear stays until they come back to take care of it. And again, it's just, makes it longer for that gear to be back in service. And then just the damage alone that it does to the gear over a long period of time. So this new facility will actually give us more space in the equipment to be able to handle both, not only our gear, but our medical equipment and cleaning of the medical equipment as well.
What took so long for us to get this, in process or in place? It just seems like the town folk think that we're taking a station away from them. We're not. All I've heard is that we're closing West Station. We're not closing West Station. I think they're fearful of what's going to happen. As I know it, Swanzey has 5 boroughs. So if we lose Center Station, then we only have 2 stations covering these 5 boroughs. Is it more expensive to add 3 more stations to cover those 5 boroughs so that we have a total of 5? Or would it just be more, adequate and efficient to add this new station to our town?
The 2 stations, the east and west that we get now, were built way back in the 40s, I guess, 40s and 50s, and cobbed onto for years. When we get people that, I want to join the fire department, you bring them into these buildings and you're this tight together as you walk between trucks. You can't really show them much. The lighting is poor. And you look at these kids and you're like, I've been here for 20 years or so. I'm on the way out the door pretty soon. But these kids are going to spend 20 or 30 years here. What is he going to see that's going to say, I want to be a part of this? This is your future. You're going to put some time and effort into this. If you get a station like this, a young person is going to look at that and say, I want to be a part of this. I can do this here. I can support this.
I can be safe, I think, is the big
Too.
thing. Because, there's joining the fire department, there is an assumed risk that you take. You're going into buildings that are on fire. You're connecting with people on their worst stage. You're in the medical side of things. We got COVID now, but before that, there was, you're dealing with people who are very ill and people who,
you're taking exposure
yeah,
risk.
you're taking exposure risk, particularly bloodborne, airborne, anything really. It's exposure risk, and it's exposure risk on the fire side too. And yeah, I'd like to live a long life, and I know I've assumed some responsibility and risk doing this, but at the same time, as a resident and as someone doing this and doing it where there is a lot of best practices, regulations, guidelines out there, saying what fire departments should be doing to protect their members and what equipment they need. I expect that my employer, the town of Swanzey, and its residents will meet me halfway at best, so to speak, in providing the equipment and the infrastructure and even the apparatus that needs to keep me safe. And that means having the decon space in the new station, having space to move around, having gear washers and dryers, and having a system that removes the exhaust from the trucks. All of that may seem a bit much to people, but it's necessary. It's necessary to know that I did my best and the town did its best to keep us safe based on the science and what practices were available at that time.
Deputy Chief Mattson, here we are again, another year coming back to ask you to get out and vote, March 9th, 8 a.m. till 7 p.m. Monadnock High School. Articles 3 and 4 for the new fire station, for the second piece of the apparatus that we need to purchase, and we'd like to see you out there and get out and vote.
Please, everybody come out March 9th and vote for the new fire station project. If there's any information that you need, please contact us. I know there's been a lot of talk in town about it, but please talk to one of the part of the administration of the fire department, or Michael Brantley, and get the correct information. So March 9th at the high school, come out and vote. Support our projects, Article 3 and 4. Thank you.
I'm Brandon West, and I've been asked to talk about some of the EMS stuff. I'm the EMS coordinator for Swanzey, and what this new building would mean for our EMS providers. We've earlier talked about the storage facilities, but it's also comes back to the cleaning and the decontamination, not only ourselves, but the equipment that we use when we go on calls. You can imagine the bodily substance that we see, and you know, we have to be able to clean and decontaminate to have the vehicles ready to go for the next call. We also recently acquired an ambulance for the town as a backup transport vehicle for us due to the COVID crisis that was, I guess, blessed upon us this year, and making it more important for us to focus on the cleaning and the decontamination and sanitation of everything that we do. This new place will provide an adequate space for not only the ambulance, but the equipment, and then proper rooms and storage, and I believe the sink in the facility for, again, cleaning. Safety is paramount when it comes to our firefighters, and I believe that's why one of the big reasons we should be supporting this building is it enhances that for us. It makes it better for our providers to be able to do the job they need. Also, it'll provide a good place for training. Anything in EMS, and any EMS provider well knows, we spend a lot of time with continuing ed, trying to stay up with the latest procedures, policies, and anything else that changes throughout the year. And this will actually give us the same space to provide that kind of training in safe areas.
I want to emphasize on and let Brandon expand a little bit upon is our documentation and record keeping. So it's vital today in the EMS field that there's actually, it's by the law, the standard and the law today, how we need to keep our records and we do our documentation. If you want to expand a little bit on that.
Yeah, as EMS providers, every run we go on, we provide a run report, and it's required by the state. We do it by a software that is provided to us, that we have these reports completed within a 24-hour period. So when not only do we do the run, we go out and take care of our patients, our community, and our providers have to come back and then do the report on explaining, what we did, why we went and did something, and it all gets documented and sent back to the state. So this new station will actually have the room, again, for them to be able to sit down and do the proper documentation in a timely fashion. Our current situation, they're sitting next to the truck trying to do it on a computer when some are trying to clean the truck, and it's just everything's all together right on top of each other. So again, it comes back to that safe space that it provides, and for our electronics too. The other thing I want to talk about was some people I've had asked a question about, well, the ambulance is over in West. If we move it over to Center in the new station, it's going to change the response times. And I don't think, the truck would be towards the center of town, or towards what they call center, more towards North Swansea. It will be easier for that to respond from there to west than it is to go from west to north, or west to, especially east. Was it 10 minutes? It's a 10-minute ride for our ambulance to get across town. Everybody knows this town. You can't go east to west real easy. You got two choices of roads, Swansea Lake Road or Eaton Road. Everybody in town should be very familiar with those roads. Our ambulance has to travel on that same road. All our providers have to travel on that same road. And when there's times, serious calls, when time is value, that adds to it. That is a thing that we calculate when we have to respond to calls.
Just recently was kind of brought to our attention was a comparison between Westmoreland trying to build a new station and Swansea trying to build a new station. So, we don't want to compare ourselves to another community, but all communities are unique in their own way, and they have their own needs. So Swansea is a very large area, and Megan could expand a little bit more on the comparisons to Westmoreland.
So what Westmoreland is proposing is in some ways similar to what Swansea's doing, and in a lot of ways very different. Swansea and Westmoreland are very different communities with different needs. However, if you look at the plans for our station in Swansea and Westmoreland's plans, the design principles are very much the same. The hot, warm, and cold zones, safety for firefighters and staff, and if anything, I think Westmoreland doing that, and Westmoreland is a much smaller community than Swansea. Their current station is about the same vintage as Center, and I think it should be, residents of Swansea should know Westmoreland's doing this. The tax impact to Westmoreland for its station is going to be much heftier than the tax impact is going to be for Swansea residents to do its station. And that has to do a lot with population and tax base. But I think it should be noted that Westmoreland wants to do this for their community. And they see value in the design principles that Swansea is using. And it should be noted that I think it's encouragement to Swansea that other communities are going this way. And that it behooves us to go this way too, because clearly it's something that is valued and supported. So a couple numbers we broke down just so residents of Swansea understand, if they're looking at both projects, what the difference is. So first of all, Westmoreland's building is much smaller than what is being proposed for Swansea Center Station. It's about half square footage. And the property value, how it will affect the property value, is much different as well. So for Swansea, it's 34 cents per 1,000 valuation. For Westmoreland, they're estimating it's $1.22 per their valuation. Again, they don't have the fortune we have of having a larger tax base to pull this off. I think for me, as I was looking at the numbers, obviously population is a lot different between the two towns, Swansea being about 7,200 and Westmoreland being about 1,800. So they're going to have clearly different needs for services than we are going to have. So calls for service, and these were taken from the most recent annual reports for Westmoreland and Swansea, which were both for the end of December 2020. So Swansea, between our fire and EMS, had 1,010 calls last year. Westmoreland had 178. To me, that's one of the most important numbers for people to look at when considering the new station, because clearly the call volume, I think, in Swansea speaks to the need for a modern facility with the space and the design that best serves its members and the community, not only to get us to the present, but to bring us forward.